Well, welcome back. The next student-centered approach is project-based learning. Now, project-based learning is often used in subject areas such as social studies and environmental education, history, geography, civics, mathematics and languages. And information technology also utilises project-based learning. So there are many benefits of doing a project. The good thing about projects for students is that they're interested in it. It's inclusive, that all students can participate in the project, and it does promote a meaningful learning experience. The students are involved in gathering the data, they make their own decisions, usually involves higher order thinking skills, and there's information analysis, there's synthesis, there's critical thinking, and it does encourage various modes of interpretation and communication of the results. You can use ICT skills, it can be used to assess students, and it can be undertaken either by a group or by an individual. And it does make good use of cooperation skills. I guess there's a few things to consider when we're doing project-based learning, is that research takes time, collating information takes time. Some students find it very easy to do that, and they are good readers and they can synthesize what's good information and what's not good information. And we can not always fully understand the depth of the students' learning when they are doing project-based learning. Sometimes some students have a shallow understanding and some have a more deeper level of learning. Just having a poster or a model doesn't show that the students have a deep level of learning. So we've got to be aware of that. Sometimes having a written report accompanying a project, a model, is a good way of ascertaining the level of the student's understanding. Also, when different topics are given to different group members, there is the danger that the most vocal individual will actually win and have the direction, where the whole group may not be all on board with the decisions. But it is growing in popularity in our culture for project-based learning. It does engage the students, and I think they have fun in the learning. The next one is resource-based learning. Well, resource-based learning is closely associated with project-based learning and issues-based or problem-based learning, but it again is underpinned by constructivism, which means that it's best suited for students who have very high levels of ability, and students who can use publications and community resources, online information, reports. They can collect a whole variety of resources, analyse the information, critique the information, and then put that together in a meaningful project or outcome for us to be made available. This resource-based learning, there are some good things about it. I think one thing that we like about it is that it motivates students. They learn from their own active and creative processes. It does stimulate higher order thinking skills, and you can easily generalize the information from one context to another, and it does foster enthusiasm for students in their learning, and it does increase academic engagement. But what do we have to look out for? Well, generally, if you're going to do resource-based learning, you better have a lot of resources, because you've got to have a resource-rich environment, lots of reference books, easy access to computers, and again, the students need a high level of literacy, numeracy, and independent study skills. We've got to be very careful that the students don't do copy and paste, and that their recording of their information, they actually understand it, they just don't regenerate somebody else's work. It does demand from the students self-management, and if a student has learning difficulties, it is hard for them to participate successfully. So what about the next one? Problem-based, inquiry-based, and issues-based learning. This problem-based, inquiry-based learning is not widely used as the main approach of learning in primary and lower secondary schools, but has become very popular in higher education. And that's where we have a real life situation that requires a solution or a decision leading to an action. So the issue may be something in the environment. There could be a problem with landslides, or there could be a problem with the toxicity of a creek, or a river might be having a different chemical analysis. And so the good thing about problem-based learning is that it is authentic. The learning objectives can link to the real world. It's the active construction of knowledge. The problems require an integration of information. The learning that happens is likely to be retained by the learner and can be transferred. It encourages self-direction in learning, and the problems that are investigated usually require collaborative skills and good communication skills. The issues to consider is that, is this problem of general interest to everybody, and are there appropriate resources? Do the students need some prior knowledge about this subject before tackling the problem? And do the students need to have prerequisite good independent study skills? And how much direction is needed from the teacher? And will the children with learning difficulties be able to participate successfully in this learning style? So again, mostly suited for students who are high achieving and have good literacy skills. So what about situated learning? Well, situated learning is using authentic tasks and contexts as the medium for teaching information, skills and strategies, and it's also the basis of the approach known as situated learning. Situated teaching and learning takes place in the physical and social setting that is functionally identical to where the knowledge and the skills will be applied in real life. So for example, situated learning will happen in the supermarket, in the airport, in the kitchen, on the bus. And within the setting, there's a range of instructional practices. Within the setting, we can also use direct teaching, practice, feedback, problem solving. Situated learning is an attempt to combat criticism that says so much of teaching goes on that the students don't get any meaning from it and there's not real life context. The fact has always been recognised that in special schools, perhaps, is that most of the learning is done in reality-based curriculum. So what are the advantages of situated learning? Well, the learning opportunities are provided in a real or stimulated context. There's experts or mentors available. There's scaffolding and direct coaching. It's motivating, the students become confident, they're likely to generalise the learning, and there's collaboration amongst the students. So issues to be considered when using situated learning in schools. The task of arranging and maintaining frequent real-life learning situations adds considerable to the teacher's workload. Technical expertise is often required. Some teachers are not confident in teaching in unusual settings, and class size can be a major obstacle to working off campus. Situated learning is really important in special schools. Really important to teach cooking skills in a kitchen, to teach shopping skills in a shopping centre, to teach money skills using a computer or a calculator or with real life money. Teaching students how to clean up a technology room, it's important to go and clean up the technology room. Teaching students how to fix a lawnmower engine, you've got to have a lawnmower there to demonstrate how it's done. I think situated learning has always been at the heart of special schools, and special schools are probably the leaders in this area of situated learning. So the next part is computer-based instruction and computer-aided instruction. And I'd say that most of you are very much aware of computer-based instruction and computer-aided instruction. So computer-based instruction would be the instruction that's just basically used from the computer. I'd say programs such as Mathletics, where you totally use the computer to learn skills. What's the advantages of that program? Well, I can tell you that as a learner myself using Mathletics, how engaging it is. It's engaging for the students because you get information that is at your level. You are given rewards for getting the answers correct. You are taught and taught again if you get something wrong. There are levels of instruction. It's self-paced and you get instant feedback. Computer-based instruction is very important in a special school. However, if you can't read, it's really impossible to do computer-based instruction. You need a certain level of literacy to be able to use computer-based instruction. Now, we can use computer-aided instruction, CAI, and CAI is where we use a blended approach. The teacher may give an exploratory lesson. Say, for example, they were talking about the numbers 1 to 10 and have introduced them. And then at the end of the lesson, the teacher said, now I want you to go to do this computer lesson, and it's all about numbers 1 to 10. So that's that blended approach for instruction. And that's very highly motivating and a good use of a teacher's time. I would recommend that teachers concentrate on computer-assisted instruction. Now, the issues to consider again with computer-assisted instruction is the level of computer competencies and the level of literacy for the student. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is e-learning. So what is e-learning? E-learning can be developed via web-based learning, resources accessible through the internet, and by using handheld devices. However, e-learning and the effective use of technology in general still relies on the teacher's skills to determine how, when, and where to integrate it effectively into the curriculum. E-learning is being increasingly incorporated into education of students with special needs. And so combining e-learning and computer-assisted learning with other forms of teaching has proved to be an effective approach with students with a variety of special needs. So e-learning, we recommend. But you might have come across a term called the flipped classroom. Now, the flipped classroom means instead of the teacher introducing the subject, the teacher says to the children, tonight, for example, I'd like you to research dinosaurs. So the children go home, they do all of their research on dinosaurs, they come in with their presentations, and then there's a class discussion about what they've discovered. That's great because when the students are then doing the research at home and they're coming in for the meaningful discussions in the classroom, and then the teacher can scaffold the lessons around what they've discovered. But what if the children don't have a computer at home, or somebody else is using the computer, or their printer was out, or they weren't able to do their homework. When they come to class, they can't participate because they don't have any information with them. So it is a bit tricky using flipped classrooms, especially for children with special needs. I think it works brilliantly for children who are higher ability and gifted students and who have the resources at their fingertips and will remember to bring the resources to the classroom and already have a sense of what they'd like to present and the learning that they've discovered. So all of these things we've talked about today are all different approaches to learning, all active forms of learning. But I can tell you that the Pacific Group of Schools have put together a little booklet called Active Learning. If you'd like a copy of this Active Learning, then please don't hesitate to ask us for a copy. They're free of charge and they go through all of the learning styles that we've just talked about. But for special needs students, we've talked about a special range of teaching methods, what's good for you, but what's good for them. The important thing is direct instruction, not alone, but with other forms of student-centered teaching. So I hope you have a better understanding now of teaching methods than you did at the beginning.